forecast, skies in 61 degrees in the Twin Cities. I'm Samantha Smith, News Radio 830, WCCO's top local story this hour. Issues affecting the Somali...
You've just heard the voice of the new anchor and reporter at the CBS radio affiliate in Minneapolis, WCCO. Samantha Smith actually applied for the job just on a whim. She was content in her job as news director in Knoxville, Iowa, and it was a stretch to think about going from a small station to a CBS affiliate. Samantha was working 70 hours a week and was on call 24/7 in case there was a story that had to be covered. She also won many awards from the Iowa Broadcast News Association, including Overall Excellence in Anchoring, and helped the station earn top honors in the small market radio division. But after about 9 weeks of intense interviews, emails, etc., she was informed she got the job. As Samantha, the daughter of Mike and Lynn Gronlund of Randolph, tells it.
All right. I guess I basically just applied on a whim, didn't think much of it. Told my dad that I applied, and he's like, well, it's WCCO, you're never going to hear from them, but it doesn't hurt. And it was only a couple days, got my first email, and then it was a long process, a lot of phone interviews, I guess I drove up to Minneapolis and met face-to-face once, and I, kept telling myself it's not going to happen. No one goes from Knoxville, Iowa to, the Twin Cities. But lo and behold, about 9 weeks later, and after a lot of discussion, I got offered the job, and I can't even really explain what it was like. It was pretty crazy. Really excited. My mom cried, my dad, freaked out. They're excited that I'm home and back in the area, and so it's just been a great opportunity ever since.
But we had to ask, how did you know you wanted to go into broadcasting?
People always ask, how did you get into this field? What made you think that this is what I want to do? A lot of it was things like, the surveys that you take in high school. I'm good at this, or I enjoy doing this, so maybe I should do that. And I looked through, and, mass communications and broadcasting was one of them. Didn't think, twice about it. I liked writing, and I, wasn't a huge fan of doing math and numbers and things of that sort. But then our junior-senior trip, we went to Washington, D.C. and New York, and we toured the NBC studios. And as cliche as it sounds, I walked in the door, and I walked onto that set, and I was, sitting at the nightly news, and I saw the cameras and the lights, and it clicked. I mean, as cliche as that sounds, it seriously just clicked, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And it, stuck, and so I started looking for broadcasting schools, and went around and looked at a couple different places, and that's how it all started.
Samantha is on the air from Wednesday through Sunday. In this position, she stacks the news stories, researches and writes them, and it's her voice you hear bringing you up to date on the news every hour during her shift. But keep in mind that Samantha came from a small town in the country, so how is that going to fit in the big city? Plus, the folks back home like to take care of our own. So I headed up to CCO to check things out. Now, some of you may remember that there have been many movies made about country folk who go to visit the big city. There was an old movie series called Ma and Pa Kettle. If you don't remember that one, you might recall the TV series, The Beverly Hillbillies. And if you don't know that one, now you can watch Paul and Rosie Go to the Big City. You see, I had the idea to add a second meeting to this trip. This was to say hi to the little brother of my girlfriend, who was a bridesmaid in my wedding so many years ago. As teenage girls, we had mainly ignored this 10-year-old kid, but when I met him after he had grown up, he gave me one of the nicest hugs I've ever received. It's been at least 5 years since then, so I figured I needed a hug again. I emailed Dave Mona at WCCO Radio, and he responded that he would be on the air with his show, The Sports Huddle, with Dave and Sid Hartman, when I got there, but just to buzz them and they'd let me in. So here's the result. Even with my panicky backseat driving suggestions, Paul drove unscathed to the downtown location. We came to the locked door of WCCO and pressed the button to ask to be admitted. A familiar but unknown male voice told us the door was open and we could walk in. The elevator door stood ajar and I went in and started pressing buttons. Nothing happened. I finally got on my cell phone and called the station and told them, "I'm inside, but I can't get the elevator to work." Well, they would come get me because the door to the stairs was locked. Remember the familiar sounding voice? It turned out to be Bruce Hogovic, who I've heard on the air for years. He previously had been on KDHL in Faribault and worked with Rod Johnson of Cannon Falls. Soon we were sitting in the studio while Dave and Sid bantered with their callers.
Is that a lot of money? I don't think that number's anywhere near right. I think it's closer to $7 million that they got out of the Big Ten Network.
Minnesota gets $7 million.
Amazing. You started something. I just got a new text message that says, in fact, Al Worthington married a girl from Fulda, Minnesota. It's amazing what the listeners know out there. Right. Let's go back to one more before our last break. Yeah,
It was after I got my hug from Dave and had interviewed the delightful Samantha that Paul and I got into trouble trying to find our way out of the building. We should just be able to follow the exit signs, right? Not. Okay, this way? Oh, yep. Then Paul became interested in the twin shirt and the glass frame on the wall, and then some more pictures. But these led in the wrong direction. And since the elevators aren't working, we will take the steps. Okay, now bathroom stop. Oh, good. Okay, do you know where we go now?
No, I think the worst way.
Yeah.
This way.
No, we didn't come this way.
No.
Okay, there's an exit sign. Let's try that one. Then I found a door that looked like a possibility, but it led to an out-of-order freight elevator. Paul asked me to step back into the hallway so we could test the door in case it would lock us out. It did. I was tempted to leave Paul in there, but decided... elevator too. I don't think this is the way we came up.
Well,
It had carpet. Roof access.
you go inside there and see if I can open the door.
Oh boy, that'd be funny if you couldn't get out again. Okay. Oh, you're locked. Should I leave you there or what?
I don't know what you put on.
Okay.
You steer.
I'll go back and ask Samantha, but I'm not sure how to find her again. Oh, thank you.
No, we can't get back in up there.
Nope, here we are. Well, at least we're here. We're this far. See if we can find our way out.
Everything's locked behind us, so we can't.
Yeah. Where do you think this goes? Hey, this is it!
And that's the latest from the WCCO Radio Newsroom. I'm Samantha Smith, News Radio 830, WCCO News Time 104.
And that's the latest from Dave and Sid, too. Is that name dropping? Thanks to all who took part in our program. And thanks to you for watching Along the Way with Rosie.